By the time the hill started moving, it was already too late. It didn't slide so much as sag first, like the earth was sighing. A crack shot across the manicured grass of the common area, right where the HOA had installed a relaxation bench 2 months earlier. The decorative boulders tipped. The mulch shifted in slow motion. Then the slope gave up entirely. A 6-foot section of hillside tore free and thundered down toward the back of my property, ripping out shrubs, snapping irrigation lines, and burying the HOA's brand-new Serenity Pathway signage in a tsunami of mud and shattered retaining wall blocks. From my kitchen window, I watched the remains of what used to be my backyard pond, now an ugly cracked bowl of dry clay, filled with mud, rock, and pieces of expensive HOA landscaping. Across the ravine, Patricia Norwell, president of the High Ridge Bluff HOA, stood on the sidewalk in a floral blouse and sensible wedges, clutching a latte and a clipboard as the hill literally collapsed under her beautification project. Her latte slipped from her hand. This is an act of God," she stammered. "Funny," I said without looking away, phone already recording. "God didn't sign the order to drain my pond. You did." By the end of the week, 3 engineering firms, city inspectors, and the HOA's panicking insurance adjuster would all agree on one fun little fact. The pond Patricia ordered drained for aesthetics? Yeah. That had been holding the hillside together. I'm a simple guy with complicated software. I'm 36, a data analyst who works remotely from my 2-story house in High Ridge Bluff, a subdivision perched on a hill outside Cedar Falls. I like classical guitar, cooking, and pretending the neighborhood drama doesn't exist. My backyard was my sanctuary, a small spring-fed pond tucked into the slope behind my lot. It wasn't huge, but it was deep and cool and ringed with river stones. Ducks stopped by in spring. Frogs sang at night. It had been there long before the subdivision, part of the original farm the developer carved up. My lot line ran right through it, half technically mine, half in a natural drainage and open space easement owned by the HOA. The pond came with an old plat map and one warning from the city engineer at closing. "Don't mess with it," he said. "It's doing half the work keeping that hillside in place." Enter Patricia Norwell. Patricia was in her early 50s, eternally overdressed for cul-de-sac life. She'd been HOA president of High Ridge Bluff for going on 8 happy years, which everyone translated as too long. She favored pastels, pearl necklaces, and sentences that started with per our CC and RS. Her personality was basically HOA Facebook group queen, self-appointed design consultant of the neighborhood, and wielder of the phrase "doesn't fit our aesthetic vision." The trouble began when she decided High Ridge Bluff needed to elevate its brand. In an email titled "A New Era for High Ridge Bluff, Cohesive Aesthetics," she wrote, "We are a premium hillside community. Our visual presentation must reflect that. No clutter, no rustic elements, no uncurated water features." That last phrase stuck with me. Uncurated water features? I muttered, watching mallards land gracefully in my pond. I shrugged it off. Until the first violation notice arrived. The initial letter came on thick HOA letterhead, in Patricia's favorite font, passive-aggressive Times New Roman. "Dear Mr. Drake, it has come to our attention that your property includes an unapproved pond and associated vegetation which do not align with High Ridge Bluff's curated aesthetic. Please submit a removal or redesign plan within 14 days to avoid fines." I laughed, then walked the notice over to my neighbor Miguel, who happened to be a civil engineer. Miguel skimmed it and snorted. That pond was in the drainage report. The developer literally built the subdivision around it. It's stabilizing the slope. "So they can't make me drain it?" I asked. "Can't legally," Miguel said. "Will they still try?" "Absolutely," I wrote back. The pond predates the HOA and is part of the recorded drainage plan. Per City Code 14.22, I believe you lack authority to alter it. I will not be modifying or removing it. Patricia responded in 9 minutes. Per Section 5.7 of the CC and RS, all visible water features must conform to established aesthetic standards. The board has deemed your pond non-compliant. We appreciate your cooperation. The blitz began. Weekly reminders about standing water hazards. An email accusing the pond of attracting vermin, she meant frogs. A concerned resident post on Nextdoor about mosquito breeding on Lot 18. I installed a small quiet aerator and posted the city's inspection report that said, in highlighted text, "No mosquito larvae observed." Patricia did not enjoy being fact-checked. One afternoon, I caught her at the back fence with a tape measure, peering down at the pond. "Can I help you?" I called. She gave a strained smile. "Just documenting. The board has serious concerns about liability. Children could fall in, There are no children who can even reach this area without trespassing," I replied. "And the HOA doesn't own my half of the pond." Her smile went brittle. "Well, the look of it affects everyone's property values." And then came the email that changed everything. After careful review, the board has voted to remove the unapproved pond and restore the hillside to a consistent landscaped appearance. Work will begin in 2 weeks. Sincerely, Patricia Norwell, President. My reply was short. "Touch my pond and I will see you in court." I carbon copied the city engineering department. Patricia carbon copied the HOA's legal committee. That committee consisted of Patricia and a guy who once did a semester of paralegal studies. The city's response seemed like a win at first. A stormwater engineer emailed. "The existing pond appears on original drainage plans as a detention feature. We strongly advise consulting a licensed geotechnical engineer before altering it. Unauthorized modifications may affect slope stability and downstream properties." I forwarded that to Patricia with satisfaction. Her response? "Thank you for confirming it's man-made and modifiable. We will proceed responsibly." 2 weeks later, I woke up to the sound of heavy equipment. From my deck, I saw a pump truck in the common area behind my house, 2 workers in reflective vests running hoses down to the pond, and Patricia in a sun hat and khakis, directing them with her clipboard. I stormed outside. "Stop. You don't have authorization to touch my property." "We're only dealing with the HOA's half," Patricia said smoothly. "The water is a shared visual element. Our attorney says we're within our rights to drain it for safety and aesthetics." One of the workers muttered, "We just go where we're paid, man." I called the city. Again. By the time a code inspector arrived, most of the water was already gone. The pond's rock-lined sides, once supported by the gentle pressure of the water, started to crack and slump. Mud oozed. A section of the upper bank began to crumble. The inspector's eyes widened. "Who authorized this?" "The HOA," Patricia said proudly, handing over a work order on HOA letterhead. The inspector read it, closed his eyes briefly like he was regretting his career choices, and said, "You were explicitly warned not to alter this detention feature without engineering review." That email was advisory. Patricia snapped. Not binding. I filmed the whole thing. By evening, the pond was a sad drying crater with deep fissures in the clay. The once damp surrounding soil began to shrink and crack. Tiny rivulets formed where water now rushed unimpeded down the hill during a quick afternoon shower, cutting channels through the fresh bare earth. Miguel walked over that night, whistling low. "They just took the plug out of your hillside," he said. "That pond distributed water and slowed runoff. Now it's all blasting straight down. If we get a real storm," he didn't finish the sentence. 2 weeks later, the forecast called for one. The storm rolled in like it had a grudge, heavy sustained rain pounding the roof, wind slapping the trees sideways. I watched sheets of water pour across the bare hillside where the pond used to be. The freshly beautified common area above, complete with decorative gravel paths and minimalist shrubs and mulch beds, shed water like a tiled shower floor. Small rivulets turned into streams. Streams turned into brown churning channels. By midnight, a section of the upper slope had eroded away entirely, exposing the cheap under-engineered retaining wall the developer had wedged in years ago and never maintained properly. At 2:17 a.m., I heard what sounded like a dump truck unloading gravel. It was the hill giving up. By dawn, the damage was clear. A massive wedge of the HOA's common area hillside had collapsed downward. The walking path and Serenity View bench were at a 45-degree angle, half buried. 2 neighboring yards now had cracks running through their grass toward their foundations. The remains of the detention pond, what had been, were now a jumbled mess of rock, mud, and collapsed bank. My yard was covered in debris. My fence was snapped in 3 places. My deck footings were newly exposed on one side. Patricia arrived mid-morning in a poncho and rain boots, staring at the destruction with a look of shocked denial. This is a natural disaster," she whispered. Miguel walked up holding a folder. "No, Patricia, this is called consequences. The city engineer is on his way. So are 3 geotech firms. And by the way," he nodded at me. I lifted my phone and pressed play. The video showed Patricia directing the pump truck, the city email warning about slope stability, Patricia saying we will proceed responsibly, then waving the workers on anyway. The HOA board gathered in a hurried, panicked meeting in someone's kitchen that afternoon. Under pressure from homeowners now worried their houses might slide down the hill, they finally did the one thing they should have done from the start. They lawyered up. Unfortunately for them, so did I. I didn't just get a lawyer. I got a land use and civil litigation attorney who, it turned out, already knew Patricia's name from a previous HOA horror story. And this time, gravity was on my side. The lawsuit was a thing of terrible beauty. Drake versus High Ridge Bluff HOA, Norwell et al. It claimed negligent and intentional interference with a recorded stormwater detention feature, trespass and property damage, creation of a dangerous condition affecting multiple properties, ignoring written warnings from city officials, and harassment and abuse of HOA power. Attached as exhibits were the plat map showing the pond as a required detention basin, the emails from the city recommending professional engineering review, photos of the pump truck draining it anyway, video of Patricia smugly insisting she had aesthetic authority, and geotechnical reports stating in very expensive words that altering the pond directly contributed to slope failure. The total claim, combining my damages and the broader remediation costs attributable to the HOA's interference, rounded out to a gloriously terrible number with 6 digits and a comma. The HOA's insurance company took one look at the words known risk, ignored warnings, and voluntary alteration and said, "We will not be covering damages arising from intentional acts outside the scope of your authority." Which meant the HOA's lovely beautification project had just become the HOA's financial sinkhole. In depositions, Patricia tried to claim she'd been acting in good faith to protect property values. My attorney slid a printout across the table, a next-door post where Patricia had written 3 days before the drain, "That ugly pond is dragging us down. Once it's gone, this whole hill will finally look premium." The city's stormwater engineer testified. If left alone, the detention pond would likely have continued performing as designed. Draining it removed both water storage capacity and saturation buffering, making the slope more susceptible to failure. The geotech firm added, "The timing and location of the slope failures strongly correlate with the removal of the pond and subsequent erosion. In our professional opinion, the unauthorized drainage materially contributed to the collapse." The judge was not impressed with aesthetics as a legal defense. In the final ruling, the court found that the HOA exceeded its authority by altering a recorded drainage feature. Patricia specifically had acted recklessly by ignoring professional warnings. The HOA was liable for my damages and a significant share of the remediation costs, and Patricia was personally liable for part of the judgment due to willful and knowing misconduct. The numbers weren't pretty. Full cost to stabilize the hillside was enormous. Assessment to all HOA members was painful. Special personal judgment against Patricia was financially life-altering. The clip of the judge saying your job was to enforce rules, not rewrite hydrology, made the local news. So did the before and after photos of the pond. And the big muddy crater where Serenity Pathway used to be. Patricia sat frozen in her chair as the judge read the final amount. $178,000, payable personally, in addition to the HOA's collective liability. Her face went from pale to gray. Her hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the defendant's table. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. The carefully styled hair, the pearl necklace, the perfect pastel blazer, all of it seemed to deflate at once. She looked like someone had just explained to her that gravity was real and it had opinions. Her attorney placed a hand on her shoulder, but she didn't seem to notice. She just stared at the judge with wide, disbelieving eyes as the words payable personally echoed in the silent courtroom.